Dean. It's gonna be amazing. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Mr. Pickles, how are you today?
I'm feeling salty, Dino. Feeling salty.
Feeling bottom of the barrel, are you?
Yeah, when you tried to grab me by the top the other day, it scared the crap out of me. I've been hiding at the bottom.
I know. I have sharp tongs, don't I?
You have talons.
How's
what? Oh, you wanted to keep talking the
pickle? Okay. Well, let's have a conversation, Dean. You enjoy speaking to a long green pickle.
What makes you happy, Mr. Pickles? I mean, you're always, because really, look, we think of pickles, you're always sour. Unless you have sweet pickles. But you're a dill, you're a sour pickle. So what makes you happy? What gets you out of a sour mood, Mr. Pickle?
Dirty movies?
That'll do it every time, won't it?
Nah, I enjoy hanging out with a nice hamburger and just making my presence known.
And a side of fries?
And a side of fries.
Layered with lettuce and tomato?
You know what my hidden fantasy is, Dean? Do you really want to know my hidden fantasy?
That's why we're talking.
My hidden fantasy is to end up on a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Someone asks for extra pickles, and I make their Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich magical.
That would make any pickle happy.
It would.
And Chick-fil-A's not open on Sundays.
You don't feel awkward at all that you're just sitting there having a real conversation with a pickle and pickle psychology?
No, not at all, because now you know the world that I live in.
Okay. All right. Well, how about now, Dean? I mean, you used to...
Now that's creepy.
Webcam stuff going on here?
I don't mind, you might find that in the trailer park somewhere.
How about anime? Are you into that?
Oh, yeah. I love anime. That's very cool.
Okay.
I like that.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So today we told the folks between the buns. Wow. It's a different audience than some of the other stuff we do.
I know. This is the people that you attract.
That's right. So we promised the folks, welcome everybody. Welcome. We promised the folks we'd be talking about something important today. We said last week, hey, let's talk about that next week. Neither of us wrote it down, so we couldn't remember what it was.
Does somebody here, in the audience remember exactly what it was?
They'll make something up. They'll just make something up. I mean, Cree's worried about the pickle between the buns. What the? Okay. That's weird.
It's a story.
That's just strange. Okay. So what we're talking about today, the single most important part of your copy, other than the headline. Yes, I remember it was a lady that said it, Robert. I can't remember. So we're going with something else. Y'all need to keep better records and keep Dean and me better informed as to what we promised to do for you on our free show. So, Paul's like, not sure. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that other than headlines, other than your hook, whatever the hook is you use to stop people, it's your ability to tell a story. It's your ability to get people sucked into your universe, whatever your universe is in the sales situation, and your ability to almost hypnotize them with the story that is going to, it's going to enhance the need. It's going to elicit emotions. What is your thought on this, Dean?
Well, I think story, we can take an example of Mr. Wizard think of all the shows that you might binge watch on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu, HBO, Showtime, Stars, whatever it is. Think of the stories that really hook you. Think of the books that really hook you, especially with great fiction writers. You don't have to be great, just something that brings you in. What is it?
That's a great point. They don't even have to be great writers if it's a great story.
That's correct. If that person who's speaking to you, whether it's on the screen, whether it's in a song or in music, whether it's in an email or a sales letter, if they can, the important thing is, how do they connect with you? If they can connect with you, they've got you.
And I think the way that you connect, at least for me, and I'm weird, but everybody else is weird too. And I've noticed that if I'm weird in one way, pretty much a majority of people are weird in the same way.
We're all weird. There's no such thing as normal. We're all goofy. We're human beings trying to do the best we can in these 60, 70, 80 years we have on this planet, right?
My grandma was a psychiatrist, and she told me, she always called me James. She had this wonderful Baltimore accent, which I can't duplicate, but she was always like, James, just remember, everyone is a functioning psychotic. Just some are more functioning than others. And we always had a big laugh over that.
I would agree with your grandma. She had it down.
Yeah. So,
and especially psychiatrists and psychologists are probably some of the weirdest folks you'll meet.
Yeah, she was a realist. She was a psychiatrist, but she was a realist. So back to the thing you were saying, you asked a question and I want to answer it. What about those stories? What about those series? What about those things that are, especially the ones you binge watch? Like Terry and I binge watched an entire season of a show on Sunday. It was rainy and nasty and we were cuddling the puppies and we just one led to the next, to the next, to the next. And all of a sudden, you got to love British comedies and series though, because they're usually only 8 to 10 episodes long. Mm-hmm. In the US, they're like 22 episodes and stuff. The Brits just get it over with. But the thing is, to me, what pulls me in is that I empathize with the characters, and I, in a lot of cases, project myself into the story. Like I'm in the story, or this is, what would I do if I was in there? How would I react? Would I react that way? Would I act that? Would I run? Would I fight? Would I laugh? Would I cry? You see what I mean? I mean, you become involved. You become emotionally involved. That's what empathizing is to become emotionally involved with what's going on.
Exactly. You're able to, empathy is the key. You're able to step in somebody else's shoes because they've connected with you on a deep emotional level, on a deep psychological level. They're hitting certain trigger points inside you that cause you to respond.
Right.
Right. And so as long as that, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and what we said before about even if the writer's not that good, if the story's good, you'll forgive a lot. You'll forgive spelling errors. You'll forgive it just outright freaking errors. You just overlook them. You'll even overlook a terrible writing style if the story is good enough and you're empathizing strongly enough.
So in the screenwriting business, and in the movie business, story is key and the writing has to be good. You have to be able to connect with your audience because even great actors can't make a bad script good. They can't. Right?
Yeah. No,
but
that's
even
true.
Okay actors, even mediocre actors can do well if the story is great.
A la Star Wars. Because I hate to tell you this, gang, Mark Hamill wasn't going to win a damn Oscar for anything. But
I mean, that was all, I found it all stiff. Even if you look at early Harrison Ford, don't get cocky, kid. We were just so drawn into it. And the reason is Star Wars, was again, we talked about him, I think last week, Joseph Campbell, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, written by Joseph Campbell, was one of George Lucas's, who was the creator and writer and producer and director of Star Wars. He used that as a basis because he saw it was the Homer's Odyssey in space. Now there's a story that's been around for, 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And it's timeless, right? It's the prodigal son. He's going out and coming back, and he's on all these adventures. And it's something that is deeply embedded in our psyches. This is why texts like the Bible have been around so long, regardless of religious beliefs and faith. It's that the stories resonate with us in terms of what metaphor, if it's told with metaphor, poetry, prose, however it's going to be expressed. In some ways, you can relate to the drama, to the melodrama, to the conflict, to the ups and downs, the roller coaster.
The arc of the story, as they say.
Character arcs. Yeah.
So somebody just asked, name the trigger points they hit, or is it sadness? Is it courage? Is it fear? Is it determination? And I think what I'm inferring from that is, what is the emotion that you want to trigger in people? And in my opinion, my thought has always been that the first question is, what emotion do I want to elicit in people that's going to put them in the frame of mind of wanting to buy my product? So, or my service or whatever. Do I want them to feel inspired? Do I want them to feel hopeful? Do I want them to feel scared? Do I want them to feel lustful? What is the emotional state I want them in? And then I have to take the story and tell it in such a way that it's going to create that emotion, fulfill the question or answer the question of why you, why this, why now? And that's 3 questions, but that's the whole thing. It's the lubrication to get them in the emotional state of wanting, or in the right emotional state, so it makes sense that they're going to want whatever it is that I'm selling.
Right. Or to take the action that you want them to take. And it doesn't necessarily have to be buying. It could be to click a link. It could be to watch a video. It could be to listen to a podcast, to download a PDF. Whatever that action is, the story, the hook and the story is going to be, like you said, the lubrication, that grease chute that's going to get them to take that action.
Right.
So if you're watching a movie or reading a book, what's the action that whoever the creator is, whether it's the author or the director is trying, or the writer is trying to do? It's to get you to pay attention, and it's to keep your attention.
Exactly. And to develop an emotion, take you on an emotional journey and have you come to some epiphany, well, maybe some epiphany or some realization, or to be moved in some way by the end of the film. Or there's some sort of a holy crap payoff. There's some reason why they want to get you to the end. That's the M. Night Shyamalan or
Shyamalan, yeah.
Shyamalan.
Sixth Sense, and yep.
All his movies are great to watch once. That's the one thing about his movies, though, is once you've seen it and you've seen the big reveal at the end, I've never watched another one of his movies twice. Well, I take that back. I watched Signs twice because I wanted to go back and kind of analyze what was going on. But once you've seen The Village, that one,
The Village, yep.
That was good. Okay, I watched that one twice. Maybe I've seen a bunch of them twice, but I will go back to watch to see then all the stuff. But then once it's done, it's like learning the magic trick. There's no point in going to the magic show anymore.
There are movies that I can watch, and I know, because I've got friends who, they don't understand people. They watch something once and then they're done. They can't. My wife and I can watch certain films or series over and over and over again.
Yeah.
We've seen Game of Thrones 3-4 times, and there's certain.
Have you really?
Oh yeah. And there's, because what do you want to do? And so we'll start flipping, and we'll go, look, I don't want to spend 10, 15 minutes looking at thumbnails to decide what I want to watch. Let's just put this in. So we'll put something in there. Outlander, we've seen 3 times the whole series, right?
Have you read the books? The books are much better than the series.
Outlander's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
tell my wife they're porno books, but all those people, they're either getting they're getting ready to have sex, they just had sex, or there's tension leading up to sex, or somebody's going to disappear, get punched in the face,
Violence and sex with this,
or almost starve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you can.
What's a movie you can watch over and over? Shawshank Redemption.
Gladiator, Shawshank's my favorite movie of all
That's
time.
my favorite movie too.
So yeah, those Gladiator I can watch over and over again. I like Oblivion with Tom Cruise. I can watch that over and over again. I love Interstellar. I can watch that over and over again. What else have we seen that? Oh, I love Stranger Than Fiction. I love that movie with Will Ferrell.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, it's a wonderful film with Will Ferrell and Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's so good, and it is so original.
Okay.
What movie?
You want to know? You want to know the movie I've watched the most ever, like of anything, even more than Shawshank Redemption, even though I love Shawshank Redemption so much?
E.T.
No, well, similar. Battle Los Angeles. I can watch that movie over and over and over and over and over again.
Is that what?
I don't know. No, you're thinking of Escape from New York. I've seen that. Escape from LA was really bad. Escape from New York was awful.
2000's good too.
Which one?
Death Race 2000 with Jason Statham and Joan Allen.
The remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
But that I can just watch that movie over and over and over again. I just love it.
Gravity I love too, says Robert.
Gravity was cool.
I loved Gravity with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney.
Yeah, that was
I love space movies.
Yeah, I do too. I do as well.
And my wife likes movies about time, which is why she loves like Star Trek. She loves things that play Inception, loves things that play with time.
Very cool. So what's your number one best tip for telling a good sales story, Dean?
Well, I would say first, in order to do it and to tell it well, tell something that's personal.
You took mine.
And here's the thing too. Most people feel that their lives are boring, that there's nothing to tell. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And it's not something like putting up, telling a story about your cat on Facebook or anything like that. Think about your audience, think about the state that you would choose to put them in, and think about something in your life that can relate to that, or at least can have a bridge or a tie to it. And start in the middle. Don't start at the beginning. You want to bring people right in to the drama. Because again, if you look at any movie, if you start reading any book, they're not starting once upon a time. They're starting in the middle of the action or in the middle of something that is that has emotion to it.
Right.
You get right in. It's you're plunging right into the pool.
Right. And an easy, just a tactical way to do that is to open with a line like, I was a brand new husband with 2 houses to sell, and I needed to get them sold in 30 days so I could take a job 1,000 miles away and start building a new life for my wife and me, my new wife and me.
Yeah.
That's an actual beginning hook of a story that I've told to sell thousands of real estate books.
So I can relate to that little story you just told, because in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I remember when I was in that situation, the same situation. I remember when I had to find a change of jobs. I was living in Los Angeles. It was right after 9/11. And then 2 weeks later, there was another earthquake. And I thought to myself, I have a child who's 2 years old. I'm in a stroller. I'm in Ralph's supermarket, and I'm there, and the earthquake is happening, and all the fixtures in the shelves are shaking like this for about 5 seconds. And I think, I got to get out of here. But my life is, and my work is in the entertainment industry. I'm working in Hollywood. What do I do? I got to get out of here. And I have to, and we know we wanted to move to Sedona, but we're going, how the heck am I going to buy a house? How am I going to move my family? Transport my family, hundreds of miles away. So when you told that, I'm empathizing with that situation. It's not the exact same situation. It could be a different, our financial status could have been different. but I'm relating to that story.
And if you're someone who is trying to sell your house currently and you hear that story, you're like, whoa, this dude was where I am right now. In fact, he had 2 houses to sell and had just gotten married. I wonder how he got out of that. And then I tell the story of how I figured it out. And that's why I decided to write my book. And that's why I'm selling my book to you today. So,
right. And people, again, people don't even have to have a house or something. They could just find themselves in a situation where they say, man, I got to get out of this job. Man, I have to get out of this situation. And they can still relate to that. It's got nothing to do with real estate. It has to do with, you're in a tough spot. How do I get out of this tough spot?
Right. And that's a great example of how you can tell the same story different ways
to different audiences.
To different audiences, not in a way that's dishonest, not in a way that's disingenuous, but it's framing the events that happened in a way that serves you and the target audience to create the empathy and create the emotional engagement that you need for the sales copy. And I want to follow up on one thing that you said that I think is super important. You said people think, oh, my life is boring, or my life is just nobody cares. Actually, your life and your experiences are the one thing you have that are 100% unique to you, to every other person in the entire world who's ever been and ever will be, and is the one thing that cannot be hacked, is the one thing that cannot be stolen, is not the one thing that is the one thing that can't be ripped off. And so your story is what you have to get really good at telling in order to separate yourself from everybody else. Would you agree with that?
I love the way you couch that. That was beautiful. Absolutely.
Well, thanks. Every once in a while, I get lucky. And say something deep and magical.
So I think, and to dovetail off what you just said, it's really important to get over yourself and put yourself out there. And just because the hardest part is starting with being vulnerable and telling people what's going on, because we have this notion that, like you're on here, Jim and Dean, they're the gurus. They know about copyright. Hell, every week you get to see our blemishes and where we fall short, and we're putting it out there, regardless of what people think.
I'm a guru, Dean.
Guided by everybody. There's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people. There are always going to be critics. And the hardest thing to do is to just
not worry about it.
Block out the naysayers.
Sure.
Because all they are, it's all in your head. No one can hurt you with a thought. They just can't.
You're right.
It's really important to dig deep and just start writing, whether it's in a Facebook post, in an email, in an Instagram, as a guest on a podcast. People are attracted to vulnerability. That doesn't mean weakness.
Okay, thank you for that. This is my guru hat, but you're right. People are attracted to vulnerability with ultimate winning. If that makes sense. In other words, nobody wants to hear the middle of your sad story. I know this is going to sound this. Let me kind of get this out.
There's whining and complaining, right? And
there's whining and complaining, and then there's overcoming against all odds, which everybody loves. So if you can't end the story on a high note, or with a with an inspirational conclusion or climax, or the ultimate win, you might want to think twice about telling it, because nobody wants to end on a Debbie Downer. This is not, unless you are selling to French filmmakers where they want to end on, and then the dog died. The end. It's like, for real? See, French filmmakers will end on a place that makes you want to go step in front of a beer truck on the highway to end the pain. But most people that I sell to, at least, want the ultimate victory and the completion of the hero's journey. Nobody wants to hear the pity pot. So I'm going to tell a quick story.
Okay, and then
It's your turn.
Add something to that.
Okay,
as a caveat.
So I'm going to share something, and this is a real world application of this. And I'm not ripping on this person at all. The only thing I'm saying is that it was a missed opportunity, in my opinion. Were you at Funnel Hacking Live in Orlando?
Yes.
Okay. So there was somebody who spoke about he was going through a really tough time, and his wife was really, really sick, and he showed a bunch of videos of his wife being really, really sick, and the pain that he was feeling was palpable. Everybody in that audience felt this gentleman's pain. But the problem was I kept waiting for there to be some sort of a reason for the pain, a payoff, a ray of hope at the end, and there was none. There was absolutely no ray of hope at the end. It just ended this talk, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel even. And it was for me, it was emotionally very uncomfortable without any kind of a payoff. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to do that to people, especially in a sales situation. You've got to show how they can reach the other side. They can have resolution, they can have completion, they can have a solution, whatever illusion that you're looking to give them or sell them. And then you position your product or service or the action you want them to take as the next step or the source of that resolution. And it's really important. I make the joke about the French filmmaker thing because, I'm not too worried about offending French filmmakers. That's okay. Love me, hate me. There's nobody in the middle. I've never had anyone offer to buy anything from me with French francs, so I'm cool. But that's really important. It's really important. If you can't tell a story that ultimately has a happy or inspiring or an ending that is a satisfactory completion, don't tell the story.
Yeah, we all want hope.
Right.
I want to just add a caveat to say about ending on a downer or something. So there's no better way to get people involved in something than by creating tension, whether it's between two people, whether it's between somebody and their situation, like you were just describing about this man and his wife being sick. So if you're going to tell a story like that, there's a way to do it effectively where you keep people hanging, like in a soap opera sequence. It's okay to leave what's called an open loop where you can say, this isn't the end of the story. Read my email tomorrow and I'll tell you what happens. Right. So now instead of putting people on a downer, you've mixed it with curiosity, right? And a form of desire. So that's okay to do. That's no different than different chapters in a book. And if you look at any scene in a movie or in an episodic show or in a sitcom, it doesn't matter. Whenever you see the commercial break or whenever you're watching something happens and it goes to another scene, it's very subconscious. The director and the writers are answering one question in that scene, but they're opening up a loop by asking another question before they hit they go to the next scene. So pay attention the next time you see this and think in those terms. Answer a question, ask a question. Answer a question, ask a question. Because that's how you keep interest in your audience.
One of the ways that you can do that, just a real simple tactical way to do that when you're telling the story, and then you want to use that story you want to break it up and have a cliffhanger and then introduce something else, is but I'm getting ahead of myself. That's all you got to say. You can say that anywhere in the story and say, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me talk to you about this for a second and why this is important.
And we do it all the time in sales copy where we say, you introduce something and say, and I'll tell you about that in a moment.
Yeah.
So
more on that in a minute.
More of that in a minute.
But that's always been my favorite is that, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
That's so cool to do that. So somebody just asked in here, we'll come back to story here in a minute. But somebody asked, Jim and Dean, you probably addressed this lots of time before. Which, in your opinion, is more important, copy or design? I think copy, but have seen a growing trend of people saying that if your design isn't great, people wouldn't care about your copy. And in fact, they won't read it unless they see it as visually appealing.
Oh, I've seen, Jim, and this is not a dig on you, but I've seen some of your stuff, your early stuff, where the design, it feels like it's 10 years old or 12 years old, and it converts like gangbusters. Copy over design every single time, unless the design is totally incongruent with what you're talking about in the copy.
Right. So if you're selling a design course, you better have great copy and great design.
And great persuasion.
But I think a lot of it is just what you said, expectation of your audience. And there is a certain expectation now about, like we used to call it the Web 2.0 look, or now the Web 3.0 look, or whatever it is now. There's a certain expectation about how stuff looks. But if you go look at Facebook, all right, let's look at Facebook real quick, okay?
I like it.
I don't like their new design at all. But if you look at Facebook, how are they designed? I mean, this is basically black text on white background. If we go look at Instagram.
Look at Google's homepage. Just go back to there.
Well, okay. I mean, but you see this? This is real straightforward stuff, gang. This isn't... some of these things where people are going overboard with the design of their funnel, the design is there, but then the fact that the design is so designed that it actually plays up the fact that their copy sucks and is in the wrong spots.
It's all sizzle and no steak.
Right. Hey, thank you, Dean. No pills. No pills. So I think that it's kind of like you can have the best copy in the world, and if your headline sucks, you might as well not have written the copy. I think you can get away with... I've seen some really ugly websites convert really, really well. You look at like what Frank Kern does and other people. It's about the message, and a lot of times the design. People spend more time trying to do the design than they do worrying about the message and the sequence of ideas that they're trying to impart on the people that are showing up to buy, maybe, or try, or sign up, or call, or whatever you want them to do.
Yeah. And, I'll tick off a lot of designers here, but typically, a lot of times design, it's the icing on the cake.
Right.
Right? It is. You've got to have something that is... People aren't showing up to a website so they could say, "Ooh, that's pretty." After they'd say that, then what? There's nothing rather than, "Wow, that's pretty."
Right.
There's no meat there. Why are they there? So they see the pretty, then they're going to start reading, or they're going to start watching a video that has great copy behind the words, who's ever presenting the message, or the words that you're listening to in a podcast. If somebody doesn't have something interesting to say in a compelling way, if they're not telling a story, if it's somebody who's just... Unless you're a fact checker who just loves hearing facts, you're not going to keep your audience for very long.
Yeah. I agree. If we, I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to...
There's Robert's got a question. What if you love to write, but hate the result because it always feels disjointed and lacks flowification. That's just a matter of, Robert, practice. It's experience. Because it might, you've got to get comfortable again in your own skin. And it's like watching yourself on camera for the first few times. You're going, this is painful. This is painful, until you get used to it by doing it over and over again. So I would say, Robert, put yourself out there. I don't know how you communicate with your audience. I don't know if it's if you have a Facebook group, if you have an email list that you're speaking with, if you've got a podcast. But the more you get comfortable talking about experiences that happen in your life that people can relate to, so that you've got a point behind the story that you're telling, the more you do that, the more you'll have flow. As you say, the more there'll be flowification, and it won't be as disjointed. And here's the other thing. There's a reason I call my company One Big Idea Marketing. One Big Idea.
The domain was available?
Oh, I got it years ago. One thing is all you need to convey to your audience. And it's the same thing Jim and I talk about here. If you're going to a landing page, one idea, just have one call to action and make it about one thing. Same thing with a page on a webinar page. What's the webinar about? What's the title? And what are the bullets that support that one main idea that you're going to be teaching or illustrating on that webinar? Same thing with an email, one idea. So, Robert, I would start with just one thing. What is that one thing you want to convey? What is the one thing you want to persuade your audience to do? And find that little nugget, that one story. It could be a snippet. It could just be an instance in your life that you can tell, that you can relate, so that your audience relates to it.
So I'm going to show you guys something. Dean was talking about ugly copy or ugly design. So I'm going to show you a page, right? This is from the workshop that we did a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago, whatever. Yeah, it was. Anyway, this is the entire page. This is it. Okay. There's a free live training at no cost, but there's no replay. You must attend live. Attention, entrepreneurs, bloggers, business owners, professionals, online marketers, and speakers. How to write and publish your own publish and sell your own outrageously profitable book or ebook in as little as 7 days. Even if you can't write, can't type, and failed high school English class. Grow your business, skyrocket your credibility, and build a rabid tribe of followers with your own unique book. 2-day workshop. Register now to get your free live pass to watch this amazing live workshop now. Get your free live pass now to register, get live, blah, blah, blah. Dean was like, hey, dude, you didn't put any dates on this. But, I'm going to tell you, we had 1,000 people sign up before I put the date on it.
Because
they didn't care.
Was compelling.
Get your free get your free pass to Jim Edwards Live 7-day book training now, free live pass. So this is about as basic as you can get, right? This is basic. All right.
And I loved, and you told a little story there, even if you can't write, can't type, and failed high school English class.
Right. This headline came to me from divine inspiration at a stoplight in Newport News, Virginia. And I had to sit there and write it down, and I missed the light, and everybody was honking and cussing me, and I was like, that's okay. It's $1 million headline. Guess what the conversion rate was on this page?
I think you had a 60% conversion rate or higher.
73.49% conversion.
Massive.
So 5,132 people came to it. 3,772 signed up.
I would have split tested it without your picture there. It would have been higher.
The point is, this I almost dropped an F-bomb on you. That was good. That was good, Dean. That was good. The point is that is not an overly designed page. That page looks like it could have been from 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah. It was like a ClickFunnels template.
It was not a ClickFunnels template. It was just
like Optimized Press or something, or
no, that was done in ClickFunnels.
Oh, and you just put it together from a blank page. I mean, that is so basic and simple.
Right. I actually blocked it out in PowerPoint to show Susan how I wanted it to look.
Oh.
and what do you know?
I mean, everything's above the fold, and there's nothing else.
Right. If I hit preview, the problem is if I hit preview, the countdown timer blasts it over to the redirect.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's all about the hook. And yes, there is a story in that headline hidden in there, but it's a great offer. It's a great headline, and it grabs people. And then
knew
people loved it.
Your desire of your audience.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So the point there, the answer is what Dean said. Dean said it: copy over design every time.
There's the other thing too about telling story and where do I start. Think about what the core desire of your audience is. If you have an audience, why are they following you? Why are they interested in you? There's a reason for it. And it's really important to think about that. It's no different than like a James Patterson, who's the wealthiest writer on the planet. He does 80 million a year in sales. That's what he makes a year selling his fiction books. He knows what the audience wants. His stuff is formulaic. He knows how to tell a story, and he gives it to his audience. I mean, that's the secret sauce. What do they want? Go get it. Give it to them.
Yeah.
And over and over and over again. And to you, it might feel repetitive. To you, the stories you tell might seem, oh man, I kind of told this story already, even though it's
a couple of years ago.
I'm not making the same, I'm telling about the same thing, or I'm teaching the same lesson. No, you're going to get tired way faster of your stories than your audience will. Way faster.
Yeah, I agree.
As long as you're not complaining and whining.
This used to be my favorite movie until Shawshank Redemption came along. Now it's my second favorite movie. Raiders of the Lost Ark, Sonny says, was determined to be the most perfect movie ever made. I believe that. It had everything in it. It had everything. It's funny. You met my Uncle Tom on the gym boat.
Yeah.
Uncle Tom took me to see Raiders of the Lost Ark. And in the scene when the Arab guy in the black and Harrison Ford just goes and shoots him.
Yeah.
My Uncle Tom yells at the top of his voice in the theater, "Now that's American!" And everybody in the theater just erupted in howls of laughter when he yelled that. That was funny.
Do you know the story behind that scene?
Yeah, he was really, really sick and he was just done.
He was done and he had to go to the bathroom really bad because he had the runs.
Yeah. So he just emphasized, boom. That was awesome. So we got any other questions and stuff in here? People end on downers when they're soliciting donations. Now that's interesting. That is,
what's that?
Somebody said people end on downers when they're soliciting donations. I don't necessarily agree with that, because what you want to do is show people how their donation can lead to a happy ending. That you don't end on the downer. You show the puppy that's been rescued and went to a new home because of donations like people like you. You donate to Wounded Warrior so that you end on the hope of seeing you see the blown up vehicle, but then you see the guy with his, or the gal or whomever with the prosthetic leg. You see them
smile train, with the cleft palate and those children and.
Right. The kids from, what is it? Shriners Hospital for Children, that one kid, I think now is like 30, has 3 kids of his own, but they're still milking B-roll they did of him 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is, but I don't necessarily think that's, maybe some do, but I think the really successful ones end with hope so that because you're selling hope.
So you can look. So this whole thing about downers, I love, because you think of certain movies, like Titanic, a tragic love story. Now, how would you have felt if the movie ended with Leonardo DiCaprio sinking to the bottom of the sea. Would it have made $1 billion if it had ended there?
No, it would have been like, that sucks, man. Jack. And I'm thinking to myself, B, that was a big old headboard. There was room for Jack on that thing, sweetheart. Sorry.
I know. Well, besides the point. But look again, why is, Gladiator is one of my favorite movies, and that ends, if anybody hasn't seen it, that's kind of it's here's how they redeemed it, though, is because they had the vision of him in the afterlife in Elysium, right? He's together with his family.
Right.
So if they just ended it right in the right, oh yeah. But that was the opposite. Live. Maximus, the merciful.
Okay. So any final thoughts on this? Any final thoughts on stories? And
no need for me to watch it. But Robert, you said you haven't watched a movie in 5 years. So you're saying you won't be watching a movie for another 5 years. Sorry I'm the spoiler here.
Yeah. Go watch Bad Grandpa. That's a good
Bad Santa.
Or Bad Santa. I didn't mean Bad Grandpa. That was a good movie though. Badder Santa was better. Big and Tall, Dean. Big and Tall.
Sling Blade was great.
Sling Blade was good.
I've done killed boy. I'm at been up to Nervous Hospital.
That's a good movie.
I don't think you ought to talk to me anymore.
I met Billy Bob and his writing partner, Tom Epperson.
What'd you think of Billy Bob's Goliath on Amazon?
The first season. The third one, just a couple. Did you like the first one? The first season?
I loved the first one. The second one was the third one. I'm like, what?
Violence, Third, I didn't even get through. I watched the first couple episodes and I was bored.
Yeah.
And, sometimes Billy Bob, for my taste, when he starts to get too much of his fingers in the pot, that's what happened with the second and third season. The first season, there were writers, executive producers on it. That wasn't Billy Bob. And then Billy Bob took over. So and it's like, okay.
Okay, here's a lesson. There's a lesson here. And there's a lesson here when it comes to copywriting as well. When you start falling in love with your own artistry and your own talent and your own ability to massage all this stuff, that's the beginning of the end. Because what that's doing is it's taking the emphasis off of the audience and it's putting it on you. Mm-hmm. And that's not the point of any of this stuff, whether it's American Idol or do you like American Idol? You like those shows, The Voice, all that stuff?
I was hooked on American Idol in the first few seasons because it was all about underdogs.
Right. But here are the words that indicate you're going home this week. I wanted to show the judges my artistry. That's when you're going home, because it's all about you. It's not about the winner. I mean, it's not about playing the game for the audience. It's writing it for you. It's doing it for you. It's not doing it for the audience. And that is absolutely the case with your copy. If you're writing the copy for you, you're done. It's over. You might as well not even do it. You got to be writing it for the audience, with the audience in mind, with everything that you're doing about the audience's reaction, the audience's emotional state, the audience's journey, not yours. And that's where people screw up.
Whenever I get a new client or whenever I get a new project, it doesn't matter where it comes from. I always get this knot in my stomach that says, this one, they're going to find out I'm a fraud. That I'm an imposter. I'm going to tank this one. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I get that every single time. It's never gone away. And I don't know, to me, and I'm like, that's my driver, but I never, ever think that I'm better than I can do it, or I can, because it's not up to me. The market is going to be the the judge on how good a piece of copy is. Not what I think, not what the client thinks. It's the audience every single time.
I want to point something out here that I just left that whole thing alone, Dean. If I'd have said, I feel like a fraud or something like that, you would have said something like, I can understand why you would feel that way, Jim, but I didn't say that. I just want to point out that I gave you a pass, but that you would never have given me, partner.
You're a much bigger man than I am. Who will ever be, Jim? And you know something? Here's the thing. If you had come in with a right hook, I would have laughed my butt off. I would have welcomed it every time. Because if I can't take a joke, really, what's the point?
What's the point?
Exactly.
What is the point? So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Anyway, that's all I got. You got anything else? Any final stuff?
No. Go tell your story, everybody. People are waiting to hear it.
Practice.
They want to know. You're letting people know that they're not alone.
That's a great point. And the one thing I would suggest is a great opportunity to practice telling your stories and to see which ones resonate with people is on Facebook Live. That's a lot of what I do with the letting the chickens out with Jim. It's like, hey, let me see if this story resonates, or let me see how this story sounds. It's a lot of times that's the first place I'll go with a story, just to kind of see if it sounds right or could be massaged, or whether people are interested, if it strikes a chord. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, doesn't.
And the great thing is there's plenty more stories to tell. Don't get hung up or hang your hat on any one single story.
Yeah.
They're meant to be told, they're meant to be put out there, and however the universe is going to respond, that's how they're going to respond.
Right. But tell the truth. That's the one thing I would end on. Always tell the truth. You don't need to embellish anything. You don't need to add details that some might call artistic license. Nah, tell the story.
Yeah.
Then you don't ever have to worry about not telling the story the right way later, so that people might say, hey, didn't you say, wait a minute? Right. That's where you never want to get in that situation.
You know what? I mean, when you start fabricating stuff, now you have tracks to cover, and you're going to be doing so much, then it's going to be impossible to remember, oh, what did I say there? If whenever you tell the truth, you don't have any tracks to cover. You don't have you defend yourself. Right. Yeah. So there was a forum that I want to get to, that somebody says, God, you guys watch a lot of movies. Well, yeah, we love to be entertained, but there's a reason I think both of us watch movies, is that you're seeing great stories being told. They teach you, when you're watching movies, you can sit in and watch for entertainment purposes. And then when it's all over, and if you're sitting there with a partner or a friend and you start talking about it, you think, well, why did I like that? And that's when you start to learn how to write good stories, great emails, really good sales copy, do a video off the cuff by telling a good story, because you see how they're told. You start to see the elements, the commonalities, the formulas that are in really good storytelling, whether it's just in a scene or an entire episode or a full movie or in a book that you're reading. Pay attention to that. Why am I interested? Ask yourself. Patterns. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Why do I like this character? What do I don't like it? Why do I hate this character? Why is this character making me so ticked off?
Yeah. Right? There's certain characters you remember forever, and why. Like, did you ever watch the NBC series Grimm?
No.
Okay. It was amazing. I loved it. My sister-in-law and I are like, we can't stand each other. But that was the one thing that we could have détente over. At Christmas and New Year's, we could talk about Grimm, and the main character's girlfriend, I think her name was Julia.
Oh wait, Grimm, is that with Tom Hiddleston, right? Where he's living his life over and over again, or something? No.
Oh. Grimm is Grimm's fairy tales. The characters are actually real, and they're anyway. His girlfriend, I hated her character. I absolutely despised her character from beginning to end. And Terry's like, why do you hate this character so much? I don't know, but I just hate the character. And so you got to pay attention to strong emotional reaction. What are they doing? Because you want to create strong emotional reaction in people with your story.
Well, if you look at any reality show, so you remember Omarosa from The Apprentice, we all hated her, but you tuned in because you wanted to see
wanted to hate her
to make me want to wring her neck this time. So any reality show, whether it's The Greatest Race or any of those shows, those producers purposely interview people and pick people with things that they know an audience in masses are going to say, oh man, I can't believe that person is teamed with this other good person. They're going to bring them down and they're going to lose. And
right.
Look what they're doing. They are purposely, they're almost like they know what to do. They know how to pull your heartstrings. And
if they do it right, you're totally into it. If they do it wrong, you're sitting there going, that's BS. That's contrived. Yeah. This is fake drama. It's like on Gold Rush. Now I use right. You're like, okay, this is BS. This isn't, Gold Rush. I've loved that show and it's really lost it. But the first 5, 6, 7 seasons was amazing because I believed everything that was going on. But now it's just totally predictable. They found a formula that they know works for the episode and it's just going like that. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. You guys have a great day. Hope you enjoyed the Jim and Dean show. Call to action, because you should always have a call to action. If by some fate, some strange reason, you don't have a copy of Copywriting Secrets yet, you need to get a copy of Copywriting Secrets, because it's going to show how everyone can use the power of words to get more clicks, more sales, and more profits, no matter what you sell or who you sell it to. Go to copywritingsecrets.com and I'll send you a real copy of the book for free. Just pay small shipping and handling. Dean, anything you want to tell the folks?
We're all good. Everybody, here's a call to action for you folks. Within the next 24 hours,
yeah,
go tell a story.
We totally lost you, man. Say that again. You froze up.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I saw the spinning ball. So here's a call to action for the audience. Within the next 24 hours, write a post and tell a little story. Whether it's in Facebook, an Instagram post, whether it's sending an email out to your list or to a friend, a family member, whatever it is, tell something.
That's a great
story.
That's a great idea. Great idea. And you're like, well, I don't have a list. Well, you probably have friends and you could send it to a group of friends and see how they react to your story. That's a great list, because they'll be brutal with you. My family is the most brutal bunch I know. They think something stupid or sucks, they let you know quickly.
But you want that.
I understand.
I do. Tell me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, wait. We won't be doing this next week, because next week is Thanksgiving and I'm taking the week off. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Hold on, you have to say goodbye as Mr. Turkey.
Mr. Turkey. Oh, yeah. And the problem is I don't know if I bookmarked that. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, happy Thanksgiving. We all have tons and tons to be thankful for. Even though there's all this COVID BS and everything else going on, we're still better off than a whole lot of other people. And we have lots to be grateful for, in all seriousness. Yep. So just
Plymouth Rock in the middle of February.
That's right. With smallpox blankets and somebody wanting to cut your liver out to eat with fava beans and a nice Chianti.
And I've got Jim's head on my refrigerator with a magnet.
And I want it back. Bye-bye, everybody.